Hi, everybody. My name is Earl, and I'm an alcoholic and an addict. Very nice to be here with you guys. Thank you, Nicola, for keeping an eye on me. I have a tendency to wander off and forget where I'm supposed to be, and this was no problem at all. So, again, thank you. I appreciate it very much. And I enjoyed listening to the readings. I've been doing this a long time, and I never get tired of it. Looking at all the faces and seeing all the people that attend, come together any way they can. So anyway, I started drinking and using when I was 12 years old. I come from a very violent family. My father was an extremely violent man. When I would wake up early in the morning and head for the kitchen to get some breakfast before I got dressed and walked to school, was a toss up. You never know what you were going to find. I mean, it could light up in my house just because of a glance. And I thought that's how the whole world was. I didn't know um, what was going on. And so I became, as a result of significant fear, I became violent as a child. And by the time I was 12, I was having a lot of problems. And I got shipped off to a boarding school. It was a think tank. They had scoured the earth to find 250 of the brightest, most disturbed young boys they could find. And they put us in this school, and it was like Lord of the Flies in this joint. I mean, it was nuts. And I, of course, got picked on by the biggest guy in the school day 3 and threw my bags on the ground and went at it, right? And just to let him, and they just had this, they thought I was just fearless. Word spread like wildfire. You see this little high tower kid? He's a maniac. He attacked Tiny, who was, of course, Tiny's, 6'3", 240, lineman on the football team. He's the biggest kid in the school, right? And he beat the hell out of me. And as I'm taking this beating, he said, "You got a lot of guts, kid," and then beat the crap out of me. And as I was, taking the thumping, all I could think of was, this is going pretty good, because I was used to the violence. I was used to fighting. I was used to winning and losing. And you know what I mean? It's all, you never know what's going to happen. But I heard him say, "You got a lot of guts." So my violence had masked my fear. So my first tool for living was when frightened, attack. If you're attacking people, they don't know how scared you really are. So I end up in this boarding school, and the word spread. The cool guys came around to my dorm room, and I mean, I kept hopping up in this fight and taking more and getting up and taking more. And guys are standing around going, "Just stay down, man." And I wouldn't, I couldn't. I didn't know how. So I took it bad. My eye was swollen shut. My mouth was swollen and cracked, lip split. I'm bleeding like crap. I mean, I'm a mess, right? And I'm sitting in my dorm room waiting for the bleeding to stop, thinking, my life sucks, right? And the cool guys came around. Matt came around. And he says, "Hey, bro, you want to smoke a joint?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I didn't even know what that meant. What I heard was, "Do you want to come with us?" And I felt like I was alone in the universe, man. My family had just thrown me away, and I didn't know why. That was the feeling. The fact was, I'd been given an opportunity for a wonderful education, held me in good stead to this very day. The feeling was I'd been thrown away, and I didn't know what I'd done, right? So when these guys said, "You want to come with us?" the answer was, yeah. So we went and got some cheap red wine, no grapes involved, red wine, the fortified stuff, little Mad Dog, right? And smoked a joint and drank some cheap red wine, and it happened. That thing that makes me bodily and mentally different from my fellows occurred, and I was on my way, man. I woke up the next. Nobody died that night. Nobody went to prison. Nobody went to jail. No blood was drawn. Nobody went to the nut house, right? Because I drank and smoked some joint, right? And I felt better than I ever felt. I felt like I exhaled for the first time fully and completely. So, I waited out. I'm not an idiot, right? This stuff is the secret to life. So I woke up the next morning. My first thought was, I got to find Matt and Steve. which I did. And I drank and used for the next 16 years, no matter what. Given many good reasons to stop, I never did. What's that little counter thing in my square, Nicola?
Countdown. The timer.
To what?
It's the timer for the sharing.
Okay, so I have 3 more minutes. Is that what that says?
35 to be precise.
Oh, okay. Sorry, because I can do it in 3. I can get it done. It's pretty basic, right? Anyway, so I started with pot and wine. Next year, pills. The only reason I took a pill was because I was on a 10-hour pass to school, and the guy said, "Would you like a couple of pills?" And I said, "Yeah, I would." And he gave them to me, and I swallowed them. And then I said, "What were those?" Which is not what normal people do. Normal people inquire first. What might these be? I took them and then just, do I need to? Should I lay down or should I get ready to paint the house? Which way are we going here? Because I don't really care, which I think is a very, very important point, right? I up or down, I don't care. I prefer down. I'm, God bless the cocaine. I did enough to fill an ocean liner, but I like heroin, alcohol, barbiturates. These are a few of my favorite things. I like to shut it down, man. I like heart and lungs work, and that's it, right? But if you don't have any of that, I'll take a big bag of the cocaine. Can't go down. Let's go up right now. Let's go. I'm really happy driving the freeways, decoding license plates. Let's go, right? Instant psychosis for me. Sure, because the most important thing is I got to get out of right here, right now. Because right here, right now, I'm restless, irritable, and discontented. Right here, right now, I'm comparing my insides to your outsides, and I'm losing every time. I got to get out of now. And that's the thing that addiction does to a guy like me. It robs me of now, because I'm constantly trying to get away from now. And now is the only time I can live life. It's the only time I can be in the moment with you. Now is the only time I can love somebody. Now is the only time I can be an honorable man. Now is the only time I can be a good friend to you. Now is the only time I can actually listen to you and be in the moment with you, hear you as you are now. When I'm using, I'm unavailable. I'm occupied, man. I'm very busy because I'm going up, I'm coming down, I'm crashing, I'm healing, I'm incarcerated, I'm whatever it is. But it doesn't involve you or how you feel or your best interests or anything like that, because I don't care. If I'm talking to you, it's because I think you might have access to drugs, alcohol, sex, money, or influence on any of the above. If you don't, next. I got no interest in you because I'm an addict. I'm very focused on what I need. These are all forms of immediate gratification that get me out of right now. So, like I said, pot and wine to pills. Next came psychedelics. I did over 600 trips, got classified legally insane by the military, but that's a whole other story we don't have time for. Started shooting dope, started doing cocaine when I was 16 because some friends of mine went to South America and came back. Well, obviously, what they came back with, and we were off to the races. And I blinked and lost 40 pounds. I don't know what happened. I liked it. Because it kept me on my feet and I could go for days, doing all the other things that I like to do. So I definitely qualify. And after that, I dropped out of high school. I got thrown in the nut house for the first time. I talked my way out of there. They wanted to keep me for 3 months of observation and a year of rehabilitation because I was they didn't know what to do with little drug addicts like me back in those days. So I escaped the second time they put me in because I knew the drill now. You got to get out before they get the Thorazine in you because that stuff, you got to slow and stop. Those are your only speeds when 3 cups of pills with the Thorazine in there. It's radical stuff, right? So I escaped during the intake interview the second time I got thrown in the nut house. Got out on the streets, do what we do to stay loaded on a daily basis. Ended up in college. Long story. We don't need to go off on that. into that rabbit hole. I ended up in a business college. Now I'm a drug dealer because I got no problem being a drug dealer because I have no sense of family. I have no sense of community. I have no morals or ethics. I'm going to business college. I'm studying marketing, production, distribution. I'm applying it to my business. Business is booming. I think college is great. They have fairs and stuff in colleges. You go to like a health fair. So we went to my health fair, and a guy there said, "You need to see a doctor." And I said, "All right." So I went to a doctor, and they said, "You have malignant cancer." And so I had to fly back to LA. Sorry to be flying through all this, but I want to get sober, right? And they told me to get my affairs in order, which kind of shocked me. That was the first time in my life I was kind of taken aback, because when he said, "You need to get your affairs in order," I thought, what affairs? I have literally nothing to show for having been on this planet for 20 years. None. Nothing. So they did major surgery on my upper back, put me in chemo. Back then they called it nuclear medicine. Now it's chemotherapy, right? They put me in that. I hated that. So I just went home and got loaded the way I do. And I beat cancer. I'm a long-term cancer survivor. And went back up to school. My mother calls me crying, which is that's a thing I don't deal well with, a weeping mother. I'm defenseless against that, right? And she said, "You're coming back to LA and we're flying anywhere you want to go. We're going for your birthday." This is heading for my 22nd birthday now. They said, "We're going as a family, and you and your father are going to put this thing between you down, and we're going to be a family." And I just said, "Fine," right? Thinking to myself, finally, I'm going to be a part of a family, right? I couldn't outwardly acknowledge that I deeply wanted that. But the truth is, which is what I have to tell you, is that I wanted that. I wanted to be a part of a family. So I went back to LA, flew back to LA. I had hair down to my elbows. I was one of the original hippies from the 60s, right? And I get there and everybody looks at me and thinks, great, right? And we get in the plane and take off to fly to Guadalajara, my father's plane. And on the way there, the plane crashed. And my mother, my father, my little sister all died in the crash, and I didn't. And I broke pretty much every bone in my body. I'm skull, back in 3 places, shoulder, arms, crushed my leg and one of my arms, paralyzed from the waist down. Thought I was dying. Yeah, so eventually, so did everybody else. But I didn't die. And a bunch of really bad stuff happened in Mexico, and the federales showed up and they interrogated me for 3.5 days, through an interpreter, wanting to know what I was doing back in Mexico, because I had issues with Mexico. Let's just put it that way, some smuggling problems, and so it was bad, and they tortured me for 3.5 days, which will change a fellow. And I got a hold of a guy up north, and they flew another plane in and paid everybody off, and they plastered me from the neck down, smuggled me out of Mexico, ended up in a hospital in California, stayed there for quite a while, got out of there strung out on Demerol and out of my mind. And I had a cane and a cast still on my leg, and a back brace, a custom back brace I had made, and one of my last run that lasted for 6 years. And it was brutal. I had pictures in my head I couldn't live with. My PTSD was through the roof. A lot of physical injuries, and I drank myself to death. That's what I did. I came out of my last blackout. I was 215 pounds. I was yellow. I'd broken 74 bones. I had over 650 stitches in me. I'd been stabbed twice, shot at. The violence had been insane. I had no friends. I had no family. I had no place to live. Family's all dead. They're deciding whether or not to charge me with the attempted murder of David Lubach. There's an ambulance outside and a cop car outside and a bunch of people in this apartment. And I'm sitting there with 2 broken hands, having no idea what's going on, because I've been in a blackout for 4 days. I don't know what's going on. Just something happened in that blackout where it was done. I came to and I knew it's over. I'm done. And I threw up 2 busted hands and I said, please help me. And there was somebody in the room who went, ah, he said the magic words, and they threw me in the ambulance and they took off before the cops knew what was happening. And they took me to a place and pumped my stomach and said, get him out of here. He's going to die. They took me to another place to get me for a few more days. And they said, get him out of here. He's getting worse. And they took me by ambulance to a place called Long Beach General Hospital. And their detox was street level, man. It was old army cots, right? 42, 21 on each side of the room, 42 old army cots with sheets drawn between them. And how you kicked was called riding the cot. You just got in the cot and rode. No meds. No, the only way you get a med is if you had a seizure. I had 2, where you just buck right up out of the cot, flopping around on the floor. They're throwing you on a gurney, roll you into the main hospital, shoot you full of anticonvulsants, stabilize you, roll you back in, throw you back in your cot. Yeah. And sleep was like a rumor. And I was in there for 42 days. And at the end of 42 days, they said, Earl, we love you, but you got to go to the A&A, buddy. If you don't go to A&A, you're going to die. And I thought, well, that's kind of rude, but, okay. Apparently, there's no plan B here. So I ended up on a Friday night in the basement of a church in an A&A meeting. There was no CA then. And sat in the back, mad dogging everybody, stay away from me. And a guy got up and he shared his experience, strength, and hope. I did not know that's what he was doing. But what I heard was he drank like I drank. And I thought, yeah, he gets it. And then he talked about something happened. I said, I know something happened. It was in a blackout, but it definitely happened because 1 minute I'm drinking myself to death and the next minute it's over. And I didn't seem to get a vote. And then he talked about and what his life was like today. And I thought, well, I got none of that. But 2 out of 3, best I've done in years. So they said, keep coming back. I thought, all right, you said it. I'll keep coming back. So I did. And a woman got up and spoke the next time. And I thought, fantastic. How am I going to get this out of my life back? Not because she was a woman. That I didn't care. It was that she was different. She had a different life. She came up as a woman. I don't know anything about that. I came up as a man. She doesn't know. I see, because I look for the differences, not the similarities. If I can find a difference between you and me, I don't got to listen to you. So if you're a woman or gay or Asian or Hispanic or 5 years older or 5 years younger, you don't know about me. Right? But funny thing about addiction is it'll strip you of all of your defenses. And in the book, it talks about being beaten into a state of reasonableness. So I sat and I listened to this lady talk. And about 10 minutes into her talk, she said, basically, if you were, and when she drank, she was like 75 years old, right? And she said, basically, in my day, if you had 50 cents and you walked into a bar and you were reasonably good looking, you could drink for 2 weeks as a woman. And then broke down how you go about doing that. And when she was done talking, I looked at the guy next to me and I said, dude, I would so drink with that lady. And then I left confused because I thought, what's going on? I'm identifying with a 75-year-old woman. I'm in my 20s. What's happening here? And what I didn't understand was everything, including the fact that it wasn't about anything on the outside. It was about the inside, right? It was an allergy of the body and an obsession of the mind, right? So then they said, you got to get a sponsor. So I got a sponsor. And I found out that they were really going to ask me to do 4 things. They were going to tell me to go to regular meetings regularly because we're anonymous out there, but we're not in here. My box right there, it says my name, Earl Hightower. Addict. That's me, right? In here. I go to regular meetings regularly to become a part of a community because I desperately need this community. I need a community of my fellows, like-minded people who have the same goal, which is to stay stopped. Not to stop you drinking or using, but to stay stopped. That's the goal. And how did you go about doing that? Problem, solution, and action plan to bring that solution about. So I got to go to regular meetings regularly. I got to get a sponsor, somebody who will take me through the process, explain to me how I can stay stopped. Then I got to get do that. I got to work the steps with that sponsor. Is the third thing I do. And the fourth thing I do is that once I've had an awakening as a result of that process, I turn around and give it to the next guy. 4 things. So when I was 2.5 years sober, CA came into being. I spoke at one of the first CA meetings in LA. And I remember I went to the meeting. I had 2.5 years sober. I had been opening my mouth in meetings for a matter of weeks. I never took a chip. I didn't take a cake till I was 3. So for me to be opening my mouth in a meeting at 2.5 was insane. But I'm in a meeting and there's like 30 people in there. Nobody, the guy with the most time had 37 days. That's how new CA was. They had 37. And I was over 2 years sober. They thought I was a sober god. And I thought, if these guys are looking at me like, follow Earl, then we're in incredible danger, because I'm hanging on by a thread. And these guys think that I got it going on because I got this big 2 years, right? But I did the best I could. I showed up and said, basically told them, you can stay stopped. There's a way to do it. Stay with us. Just stay with us, and we'll show you. And if how long have I got? All right. If you're new or not, there's this in AA, and CA has adopted a little different thing, but I got to go with what my, original stuff. This is the stuff that I was originally introduced to, was the circle with the triangle. And it was an ancient spiritual symbol that stood for mind, body, and spirit brought together as a whole human being. And therein lies the balance that I sought my whole life, and I could never find drunk or sober. Right? Alcoholics Anonymous adopted that symbol, and it's unity, service, and recovery creates a whole human being. Unity is the body. I bring it here. I can't get clean, but we seem to be able to. What's the first word in the steps? We admit it together, right? So the unity is critical to my survival. So the fellowship is incredibly important. You want to do this. This is hard. Staying stopped is hard enough. Why make it harder? Stick with the crew, stick with the team, stick with your own kind, stick with the people who are successfully doing the same thing, finding people that are comfortable, clean, and sober. That's an amazing thing for me. I've been clean and sober, and I've been comfortable, but I've never been both at the same time. And I was running into people that were both. They were standing in front of me, both clean and sober and happy. And I thought, they have something. They have a consciousness that I don't have, and I need to get that consciousness. So they said, okay, you got to go to regular meetings regularly. I go, check. I have no conflicts that make that impossible, right? My life is flatlined. You want to go to meetings every day? Fine, I'll go. And then they said, you got to get a sponsor. And I said, great, what's that? They said, that's somebody that's got, and they used to say to me, that's somebody who's got what you want. And I go, well, I want to get high. So that's a horrible idea. And that I believe you should get a sponsor who's got what he wants. Right? So I went, this guy walked in one day to a meeting. Actually, he didn't walk in, he flew in. This guy just flew into a meeting and just blew the doors off this place. He was so fired up for recovery. He was so passionate about sobriety, how much he loved it. He didn't care what you thought about him. He didn't care really what you thought about anything. He was here to share with you the fact that his life, he had gone from a person who was dying to a person who was lit up with life and having a fantastic time. He also happened to be a very flamboyant gay man, right? But when he was done talking, I looked at the dude next to me and I said, there's my sponsor. And he goes, what? I said, yes, look at how passionate he is about recovery. Look at how he gives it away. I'm dead inside. That guy's so alive, I can't believe it. I want what that guy has. And they are like, all right. So I walked up to him and I said, would you sponsor me? And he said, yes. I was like, okay. And he said, you don't have to like what I tell you. You don't have to think it's a good idea. You just have to do it. And I just said, all right. You can calm down a little bit, but, fine. And that guy saved my life. I called him every day for 14 years up until the day he died. The late, great Donald Madden. Man, he saved a lot of worthless souls like me. And he was amazing. He didn't tell me about it. recovery. He showed me. He would say, if it's an 8 o'clock meeting, you're there at 7:30 to be there for the new guy that's showing up early because he's got no place else to go and he doesn't know what to do. And you're going to be there as an example of this program, and you're going to get him a big book, or you're going to get him a text, and you're going to get him a meeting directory and a seat and a cup of coffee, and you're going to talk to him and make him feel at home, because you need to make this his home, not just yours. You need to welcome him. And I go, got it, which I didn't, but I said, okay. And I show up 30 minutes early all the time. This is kind of different, right? But when physically showing up for meetings, I was taught to show up 30 minutes early. I had commitments all over the place. I participated in cleanup a lot because I didn't have really great social skills in the beginning. So they kind of kept me away from people. And when everybody would leave, I would clean up the meeting and then leave. Because they made me a greeter for one day. And people were going up to the secretary going, you know, I'm not feeling welcome. I don't feel welcome. And it was apparently me and the way I was herding people into the meeting, saying, you know, instead of saying, welcome, glad you're here, it was like, you're blocking the door, keep moving. Yeah, glad to see you do. Come on, let's go. Meeting, get in there. You know, you say hello later. Come on, go. And I thought I was doing an excellent job. Apparently not so. And so they gave me different jobs, and I learned slowly. I'm like a slow learner. I came in wiped out, and I learned. I have a text from, thought that was from somebody in the meeting. Anyway, +44, right? Anyway, then I learned. So I was going to regular meetings. I had a sponsor, and I worked the 12 steps as outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Step 1 was, what's the problem? Lack of power is my dilemma, right? I can do a lot of other stuff, but when it comes to drinking and using, I'm off the rails. It takes over my life. If that's my problem, what's my solution? Step 2, that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, soundness of mind, and relieve me the obsession to drink, use. If that's my problem, that's my solution, what do? Step 3, get down on my knees and turn my will and my life over to the care of a God I may or may not understand. Understanding's irrelevant. Doing it is what's important. And get back up on the couch, and I embark upon a plan of action. 4 and 5 is me, 6 and 7 is God, 8 and 9 is all of you guys. That's the whole team. There's nobody else to play with, man. 4 and 5, I swallow large chunks of truth about myself, and I tell this before a higher power to another individual. 6 and 7, I ask God to remove the defects of character because I'll remove the wrong stuff. 8 and 9, I go out and make direct amends wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And you can clear up which is what with your sponsor. Is this one cool? Yes, go do that. I made the flashcards of all my amends that I needed to make. And I would just take the top one off of it, and I would go do that. And when that was done, I would get the next one, and I would go do that one. And it only took me 6.5 years to make all my amends. But while I was making those amends, I had got, that 6.5 years, I'd gotten a job, career, and I was making a lot of money and, all that. And I lived in a one-room bootleg apartment in Palisades for over a carport for 6.5 years because I had been asked the question, how free do you want to be? And all my money went to making amends, all of it. I was happier than I'd ever been in that little one-room apartment. And when I was done with my amends, I got a nice place, and life started to happen because I was learning the tools of living from Alcoholics Anonymous, right? 10, 11, and 12 kept me in the game. 10, me, 11, God, 12, you. 10, I continue to take personal inventory, and when I'm wrong, promptly admit it. Because I just scratched the surface in the first pass through step 9. It says in the book, you will be amazed before you're halfway through. The amends the promises start coming true right around step 9 in the book. And I didn't think some of those promises would come true for me. I'm here to tell you that every single one of them did. The one I objected to was they said I wouldn't regret my past or wish to shut the door on it. I thought, that's a lie. That will never happen for me. I saw things that I will never forget. And that said, I saw things happen that I will never forgive, ever. And then one day and that was the plane crash. I saw Noah watching my family member bleed to death in front of me. I didn't see how God basically saying to me on my birthday, no, you don't get the family you desperately want. No, you don't get to be a part of. No, you're less than others. You're shit. That's what I was told. And I would never forgive that. And I would never let it go. And then years later, I'm driving down the road and a woman, I see the building. It's a church, Bel Air Presbyterian Church. My father had been a deacon in that church. And that's where my family's funeral was. And I could never go in that building. And I thought, anything I'm afraid of, I have to confront. I'm just that kind of bullheaded person. So I thought, fuck it. And I pulled in and I knew there was a Monday night meeting there. And I went into that meeting and I sat down and I'm sitting in the meeting. As I'm walking in, the guy leading the meeting knew me, right? And he just, gives me the, AA head nod, right? Yeah. I sit down and then they have participation and the leader goes, Earl, do you want to share something with us? And this woman stands up and she goes, are you Earl Hightower? And I went, yes. Like, what's happening? And she bursts into tears, runs over, sits down on my lap, hugs me, and just is crying, inconsolable. And I'm just patting her back and I'm looking at the guys and I'm like, I don't know. But what I love about this thing we have is, God, I said that like a mafia goes in Nostra. This thing we have, right? Nobody said, wait a minute, this is a participation meeting. God damn it, sit down, young lady. We got a meeting, we got to form around it. They didn't do that. They just all went, well, I guess we're going this way now. And they rolled with it, right? And when she could talk, she said, I was in a plane crash and I got hurt really bad and people I loved died. And I've been looking for you for 2 years and I need to look in your eyes and I need you to tell me that I can make it. And I just looked at her and the tears rolled down my face and I said, you can make it. You're going to be okay. Just stay with us. And she hugged me. She went back to her seat and that promise came true. Even though I swore it never would, there was value in what had happened to me because it gave that woman hope because I had stayed sober. And I'll remember that as long as I live. I've been sober for 43 years. I still use 10. And I have to admit mistakes because I still make them. I'm a flawed human being. I think that's redundant to say you're a flawed human. I'm a human, therefore I'm flawed. I seek God through prayer and meditation. I pray for knowledge of his will for me and the power to carry that out. And I meditate to quiet the mind so that when the answers come, I can hear them. And I've meditated for over 30 years now, every morning. Hold on a sec. And third side of the triangle. Unity is the body, I bring it here. Recovery is the mind, I work the steps, as outlined in the book. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening is the result of working these steps. Having been restored to sanity, soundness of mind, relieved of the obsession to drink, I can practice these principles and carry the message. I can be of service. How can I help? The third side of the triangle. Service to spiritual. Get out of self and be there for someone else. And I have sponsored people since I was 2 years sober. So for 41 years, I have sponsored other men. I speak to several of them daily. I'm surrounded by recovery. And I have an absolutely remarkable life in every respect. I'm going to tell you one other thing and I'll shut up. I was talking to a friend about 2 months ago and I said, I got this thing dogging me and I don't know, I can't put it in words. I don't know what it is, but I'm carrying weight that's, I believe every man should carry his own weight. There are consequences for your actions. Carry your own weight. Don't put it on another person. And I was carrying weight. I said, I'm carrying weight that I think that should be lifted. And what is it? I said, we never finished the flight. All I can say, the only words I have are, I didn't finish the flight. I never made it to Mexico. I never finished it. And he said, you want to finish the flight? I go, yeah, I want to finish the flight. And so he got a guy with an airplane, and he said, meet us at the airport at next Saturday, and you'll fly. You fly. I said, okay. So we went to, and I haven't been in a small aircraft since then. I got to the airport and I got in the pilot seat, and I had flown as a kid because my father let me take the controls of the plane and fly and land and take off and do all that stuff. And he would use the head, he would be on the headset talking to the tower, and I could fly, right, as a kid. But it had been, a decade since I had flown a plane. And I got in, and an instructor got in, and I told him, I said, all you do is talk to the tower. Don't touch the controls. And he said, unless you're crashing us, I won't touch it. And I said, great. My wife sat in the back, and my best buddy sat in the next seat. And we took this little plane and put it on the runway. And I had on the headset, and they said, you're cleared for takeoff. And I punched that sucker, and we went flying down the runway. And I pulled back on that yoke, and I took the plane off, and I flew the plane up, and I flew up the coast of California, looking at the coast and how beautiful it is up there. And I bent that thing out and flew it back down, and came in, and it made a 3-point landing, taxied the plane over, turned it off, got out of the plane, and I'm different now because I finished the flight, and I don't carry that weight anymore. Nor do I carry that fear. And I guess my point to you is that I got stories like that till dawn. And it's because I've stayed in life. I've stayed, and I've watched I've been here for the little miracles that have happened to me in my life. And I've watched happen to the lives and the people that I love and care about in here. I have community. I have friends. I'm loving and being loved. All the things that I knew would never be a part of my life are very much a part of my life. If you're new, just stay here and chop the wood and carry the water of Cocaine Anonymous. Just stay here and chop the wood and carry the water of Cocaine Anonymous, and you'll be okay. You will find a design for living. You'll find that you can stay stopped and be comfortable and happy beyond your wildest dreams, staying stopped. I love you. Peace. I'm out.